Dear delegates, students, scholars, faculty members from different subjects and different parts of India, I am thankful to the department, particularly the head of the department, Dr. C. Subramanian, senior faculty members, and research scholars and the technical team who is assisting the department conducting two online courses, one on Introduction to Fundamental Rights and Fundamental Duties, and second online course on women's rights education. So we have chosen two very pertinent topics. We need to disseminate information about the significance of rights of the citizens, and most of the citizens are unaware or not able to being exercised constitutionally guaranteed fundamental rights. So it's my pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of the Department of Political Science and Public Administration. And we are very much thankful to the university authorities, particularly our Vice Chancellor, Registrar, Dean, Faculty of Arts, and other authorities of the university for having given the wonderful opportunity to conduct this online course. So this is the first time the department is entering into online world. So far, we have conducted programs, training program, sensitization program only through offline, that is one-to-one contact in the classroom or in the seminar hall. The first time, it's a really acid test for the department, but we are doing our level best in conducting the program at the online. So coming to the department, Annamalai University is one of the very, very old and traditional university in India, not only in India, at the global level. The department, political science, was started in the year 1981. And initially, the program MA Political Science 2-year was started with 1981. Gradually, we are developing kind of the research spirit and attitude in the department by admitting both rural and urban students. One important information which I wanted to share with you is in the year 1994, for the first time in the spectrum of political science in India, the department started a 5-year integrated political science program, and students who complete +2, they can join directly the 5-year integrated program. And I am very thankful and happy to share this information. Almost 40% of the syllabi are from other social sciences. So by considering the student interest in preparing for the civil services, we have included 40% of the syllabus from other sister discipline, for example, history, economics, geography, logic, sociology, psychology, and other components also. And coming to another significant development in the milestone of the department, we have started MA Public Administration in the year 2006 and 2007 academic year. And after 2 years, then we started MPhil program in Public Administration and PhD in Public Administration. So currently, the department is offering both the MA Political Science and the MA Public Administration. So I will just share some of the highlights of the department as well as universities by sharing some of the information through PowerPoint. The first, with regard to the university, we are celebrating 90th year, and we are planning to conduct a global summit also. The university is planning. And coming to the first program, Introduction to Human Rights, 11th program was started with welcome address by our Dean, Dr. E. Selvarajan, Faculty of Arts, and followed with his welcome address, Dr. P. Saktivel delivered warming up session and introductory remark about the program, why the program was organized. And 12th, Dr. Balamurugan will handle the session on meaning, definition, and types of rights. On 13th May, Dr. J. Subramanian, Associate Professor and Senior Faculty Member, will deliver a lecture on fundamental rights in Indian Constitution. And we have invited Dr. K. Senthil Kumar, Associate Professor, and now he is a deputy to the Allahabad University, and he will deliver a lecture on right to equality. On 15th May 2020, mine, Dr. P. Saktivel, will deliver another lecture on right to freedom. So followed with the Shaktivel, Dr. Neelam Ponte Madam will deliver a lecture on right against exploitation. And we have invited advocate from Madras High Court, Madam and Dr. B. Uma Shankari. She'll be talking about right to freedom of religion. And other resource person, Dr. S. Prabhakaran, will talk about cultural and educational rights. And Dr. Anbu Armugham will talk about the right to property that was removed from the Indian Constitution through 44th Constitutional Amendment in the year 1978. Regarding the right to constitutional remedies, we have invited Dr. D. Sivakumar. Will deliver this lecture on 20th May 2020. And finally, the last lecture will be delivered by Dr. D. Devanathan. You are stakeholders. And coming to, because most of the participants are new to the online courses, so I just wanted to give some instruction to the participants that we are going to conduct this program in Zoom app, and we are requesting the participants to log into the Zoom app well in advance, at least 15 minutes before the original schedule. So for the morning session, we are going to start 10 o'clock. So we request all the participants to log into 9:45 a.m. And the second instruction is to keep at least 1.5 GB data with your account, because every day the session will go up to 1 hour, 45 to 1 hour. So essentially, you need 1.5 GB data in your account. And third instruction is sufficient power backup and power storage is very, very essential. And you need to keep in your mobile and laptop. And fourth one is don't share your photos, videos, or screenshots in the Zoom app while the resource persons are delivering the lectures. So only the resource persons are permitted to share PowerPoint, video, and photos. And another important information, when you are logged into the Zoom app, you are requested to enter your official name that you have already registered with the organizer of the online program, and don't type your mobile if we find out that any unwanted entry into the waiting room, definitely we will remove such person also. And the technical session will start for the first program in the morning 10 o'clock, and first session will go up to 40 minutes, and there is going to be a break for 1 minute, and again we are going to resume our next session. And you can also log in with the same user ID password. You can also raise your questions, your pertinent questions with the resource person, and don't hesitate with your language, your communication, grammar, etc., etc. And lectures and the PowerPoints will be uploaded in YouTube or university website. And we are also planning to send the web link to you all through the WhatsApp group. A separate WhatsApp group is being created for introduction to fundamental rights and fundamental duties, one group, and second group for women's rights education. So coming to rationality for organizing the course, the rights are very, very essential conditions without which no human being can develop his or her personality. The rights are considered as an essential condition where you can live as a human being with a dignity, utmost self-respect, and you will be treated as a human being only if the rights are being granted, recognized by the constitution of your country or my country. So rights nothing but it is not only by created by the constitution, not only included in the constitution. When the human being get birth in the world in the planet, there are certain natural rights are available. For example, freedom of consciousness, the freedom of thought, freedom of movement, and the freedom of thinking. These natural rights are already available with a human being. So without rights, you cannot live as a human being, and that is a reason democratic constitutions everywhere. So we have more than 200 countries in the world, and officially there are 193 countries are being admitted in the United Nations organization. In all the 193 countries, there is a democratic constitutions available, and every steps are being taken to include fundamental rights in them. Then coming to another important is the rationality for conducting the course. During the COVID-19 pandemic period, the department is taking serious efforts in disseminating information about fundamental rights, fundamental duties and even women's rights. That is a second program, women's rights education. One important rationality for conducting the course, the people and other stakeholders, they should be sensitized about the existing fundamental rights and fundamental duties. And as what we learn from the society and from the daily experience, awareness about the fundamental rights are very, very minimum. That's what I should say. And even educated people are not well versed with, not acquainted with what are the rights are being available with the Constitution. And when we go back to the Constituent Assembly, the fundamental rights was discussed as much as possible. That is 38 days. This is the one important information. More than 38 days, or exactly 38 days, the issue of fundamental rights was debated and discussed in the Constituent Assembly. For example, 11 days it was discussed in subcommittee of the Constituent Assembly, and 2 days in the advisory committee, and 25 days the Constituent Assembly discussed the fundamental rights. And coming to Ambedkar, who played a pivotal role in drafting the Constitution of India, he considered the right to constitutional remedies, that is Article 32 of 38 Indian Constitution, a right to constitutional remedies. And what Ambedkar felt, from his opinion, it is the heart and soul of the Constitution. That's the right to constitutional remedies. Constitutional remedies are nothing but if any one of the fundamental rights listed in the Indian Constitution, suppose if you are unable to exercise, unable to enjoy, then immediately you can approach the Supreme Court and High Court for restoring your fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution. So this is the photograph which is taken from the Constituent Assembly in the midnight of 14th and 15th August 1947. Sometimes the debate and discussions regarding the fundamental rights, it went up to midnight, and more than 15, 16 hours, the founding fathers of the Constitution, they debated the issue. In this photo, you can see our first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and Sardar Baldev Singh is available, B.R. Ambedkar is available, and other members of the Constituent Assembly you can see. So this is the central hall of the Constituent Assembly, a very rare photo. And the courtesy is Google. I am thankful to the Google because a lot of information we can obtain from the Google platform. So this is the real debate and discussions which took place in the Constituent Assembly. Then coming to, it's not possible to show all the members of the Constituent Assembly because it is more than 250 members in the Constituent Assembly. You can see in the first row, Jawaharlal Nehru is sitting, and Patel is sitting, and other distinguished members of the Constituent Assembly are sitting. Then coming to another historical moment in the Constituent Assembly, Nehru moved the resolution, what we call it is the Independent Sovereign Republic resolution was moved in the Indian Constitution. This is we are seeing from this PowerPoint. And this is the very, very historical moment in every Indian's life that Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the President of the Constituent Assembly, signed the Constitution, which you can see from this PowerPoint. One day after his signature, the Constitution came into force in the year 1949. That is on 26th November. Three important provisions of the Constitution. One is who are Indian citizens. Second is the Parliament. And third is elections. So these three provisions were implemented immediately. The rest of the provisions were implemented the next year, 1950, 26th January. So I am delighted, and I am little bit nervous and as well as sensitive in showing the preamble of the Indian Constitution. So being a political science teacher and a political science student, this is the preamble of Indian Constitution is a base for the entire our Constitution. The Constitution preamble starts with the we the people of India. Having faith upon the people of the country, the Constitution says the people are supreme, the people are sovereign. The sovereign power is the rest with the people, and it is only from the people the Constitution derives its power and authority. So that is the reason the Constitution preamble starts with the we the people of India, and having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic country. If you are able to understand each and every word, sovereign, supreme authority, socialist is nothing but justice in socio-economic life. Secular, that means state has no religion. Each and every Indian citizen can choose any religion, practice any religion. It is a secular. The government and state will not interfere in your religious affairs. So you can follow any religion, you can practice. Coming to the another two important powerful word, one is democratic and republic. So we adopted democracy as a form of government because our neighbors on the one side of the China, they are called as a communist country. There you can see the total power is being exercised by one hand, what we call it as an executive. And if you go to the Pakistan or if you go to Indonesia, there the power, political power is being exercised by one or two branches of the government. So to put it very simple, in India, there is a real democratic decentralization of power and the authority is being granted to the people and people are supreme, people can exercise the power and authority. And my dear participants, we have chosen two topics. One is fundamental rights and duties and another second program which will be conducted in the afternoon session 2 to 3 o'clock. And both the fundamental rights and human rights education for the women, everything is being mentioned in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That is what popularly called as a UDHR. So whatever the UDHR principles are implemented in India through our fundamental rights. For example, civil and political rights guaranteed by the UDHR is being included in article that is from 14 to article 35 of Indian Constitution. So hope that the forthcoming days, the resource person, they will focus upon um, uh, the comparison between UDHR on the one side, on the other side is a fundamental right. Then coming to the nature of our fundamental rights, one is, it is in the part third of Indian Constitution. It is being included and accommodated. The part third of Indian Constitution, that is a fundamental rights. All Indian citizens can lead the life without any disturbance, without any threat to the communal harmony. And there are some important futures with regard to our fundamental rights. One is it is equally available to all Indian citizens. So, irrespective of the caste, religion, birth, sex, creed, or color, every Indian citizens are entitled to enjoy, exercise, benefit the fundamental rights guaranteed in the Indian Constitution. And second thing, it is equally available and applicable to all Indian citizens. Again and again, I'm reiterating, all the fundamental rights are can be enjoyable, can be enforceable only to the Indian citizen. Suppose if the foreigner is coming to India, or by travel or by education for any other purpose, if the foreigner is coming to India, they are not entitled and they are not eligible to enjoy all the fundamental rights guaranteed in the Indian Constitution. Third is all the fundamental rights are enforceable by the court subject to certain reasonable restrictions. I will explain later what are the reasonable restrictions. For example, in the interest of the state, sovereign and the security of the nation, our friendly relationship with our neighbors, and there are some international treaties and agreements are available. So without any much hamper and disturbance to the international conventions, you can enjoy your fundamental rights. But these reasonable restrictions are very, very essential from the point of view. Here it's my duty to share one important information. When there is a debate and discussions going on in the Constituent Assembly, why we need to have reasonable restrictions imposed on the part of the Constitution, that is a fundamental rights. When Ambedkar stood and you argued that there are certain situations in which state and government need enormous power to handle an abnormal situation. Though the people are having 100% freedom, 100% liberty, but this freedom and liberty should not affect and undermine the freedom and liberty of other individuals. So there are some reasonable restrictions that are imposed in the interest of the law and public morality, in the interest of the security of the nation, sovereign of the nation. But I do agree, like you, there are some shortcomings or there are some issues in enjoying the fundamental rights by the Indian citizens. The first point is we have to remember that fundamental rights are not absolute. There is Article 352, Article 356, and Article 360 is available. When Article 350 national emergency is proclaimed, naturally the fundamental rights are subject to suspend by the state and government. There is MISA, there is the act was enacted, that is a Maintenance of Internal Security Act. So once the act is imposed, naturally your fundamental rights will be suspended. You cannot enjoy. That is only temporary, only not permanently. You cannot enjoy the rights being guaranteed by the Indian Constitution. Second is fundamental rights. Sometimes it's a limit authority of the central and state government. So they cannot encroach upon your fundamental rights. For example, if you are having a right to freedom of movement, you can move from one place to another place. Suppose from Tamil Nadu to Kerala, or from Kerala to other parts of India, people can move and can settle, and they can profess and practice any profession, any business and trade and commerce. Then third, fundamental rights, as already I told you, it distinguishes between you means Indian citizens and the foreign nationals. The foreign nationals are not entitled to enjoy the fundamental rights, and they cannot claim the fundamental rights as incorporated in the Indian Constitution. That is a part third of Indian Constitution. And fourth important point which we have to remember is it can be suspended during the emergency. That is Article 352 or Article 356 and Article 360. Even when there is a financial emergency, your rights, that is economic rights, will be curtailed by the state and government. And the fourth, not the fourth, the fifth one is fundamental rights can be amended by the parliament. But there are some criticism leveled against this point. Parliament has no right to change, alter, or undermine the basic structure of the Indian Constitution by amending preamble or fundamental rights. But in one occasion, in one remarkable judgment, Supreme Court of India says Parliament has every right to amend the Constitution, especially the fundamental rights. But in other occasion, in other cases, Parliament has no right to amend the Constitution, especially the fundamental rights. So, but by and large, except abnormal situation, the rights are absolutely, it is available to all Indian citizens. So compared with our neighbors, compared with our Islamic countries and other countries, especially in SAARC and other regions, we are having enormous rights and freedom. But the only thing is that we have to understand, we need to understand what are the rights are available in the Constitution. And this is the purpose of this online course. So we wanted to sensitize our own students, our own faculty members, our own research scholars in understanding the each and every aspects of the spirit behind definitely you can lead a very best and a better life in your career. It is naturally included fundamental rights also. So women are having every right, protection from domestic violence, protection from any kind of violence at the harassment at working place, and there are some legal mechanisms are available, and these legal mechanisms certainly will protect the women from any kind of human rights violations. So when you come to the program schedule for the human rights education for women, and Dr. Balamurugan will give warming up session. And before that, Dr. E. Selvarajan, Dean Faculty of Arts, will welcome the gathering. And Madam Karpagavalli, Lieutenant from Department of History, Sri GVG Lakshmi College for Women, will be delivering her lecture on meaning, definition, importance, and the challenges of women's rights. Then coming to the third lecture, that is on international and regional human rights and mechanism to protect women's rights. The lecture will be delivered by Dr. S. Prabhakaran, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science and Public Administration. And next topic, National Human Rights Commission, a role in protecting and promoting human rights. The topic will be handled by Dr. K. Senthil Kumar, Associate Professor, Deputed to Alagappa University in the Department of Political Science and Public Administration. And we have requested Dr. A. Anbu Armugam, Assistant Professor, Deputed to Presidency College, Department of Political Science. She will be handling a session on human rights jurisprudence in India for women. And on 16th May, Dr. T. Sudha, our own colleague from Annamalai University, and she's the Associate Professor of Economics Department. She will be talking about the human rights of women, especially the role of religion and society. And Dr. D. Sivakumar, Senior Faculty Member in the Department of Political Science, Annamalai University, will deliver a lecture on rights violations against women during a war and conflict period. The next lecture, Dr. P. Saktival Mai, Professor and Deputy Controller of Examination, will deliver a lecture on human rights violations against women in cyberspace. And next, Dr. Saktivel, Dr. C. Subramanian, Professor and Head of the Department, will deliver a lecture on human rights of gender. And he is the man who ignited in organizing these two online courses. And coming to another social activist and human rights activist, Malarvanan, and he's from Coimbatore, and she will be also talking about the human rights of transgender. Probably most of the both of the two, they will share the session on 19th. Then coming to 20th, role of media and NGOs in the protection and the promotion of human rights. The session will be handled by Dr. J. Subramanian, Associate Professor and Senior Faculty Member of the department. And the last lecture, very, very important, useful lecture, Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. This lecture will be delivered by Dr. S. Balamurugan, our senior faculty member, deputed to Department of Political Science at Priyar Government Arts College. So, my dear student friends, delegates, participants, and we humbly request you all to be on the line exactly. If it is a forenoon session by 9:45, if it is an afternoon session exactly by 1:45, please log into the Zoom app and connect with your earphone and don't interfere with the resource person while delivering the lecture. And you are not permitted to share your PowerPoint and other details. But only thing is, enough time we are going to give you for interaction, question, and discussion. So this is going to be an online course. It is not pre-recorded, and we will not going to post in the YouTube, but we will not request you to go to the YouTube and download the lecture. Everything will be online. So you can meet the resource person through the web, and you can interact with the resource persons by posing your questions. And thanks to the HOD and other technical member, the Department of Political Science, Annamalai University, for such a wonderful opportunity, even despite the COVID-19 pandemic epidemic. So thank you one and all for listening, and meet you in the next session. Nandri Vanakkam.